there's always a theme. And that theme, a lot of times, shout out to you. I'm definitely going to be reading super chats throughout the show. That theme, a lot of times, is based off of what it is that I see happening in the streets, combined with what it is that I see happening in society. I had a conversation with my homie Trey Little. Trey Little has amassed a little bit over 1.5 million TikTok subscribers, and he's now transitioning those TikTok subscribers and his audience over into Instagram and then YouTube, right? And I see themes, and one of the things that I seen happening on Memorial Day, and I actually posted it on my Instagram. I'm probably gonna remove it after the show. I was driving around, me and Rita, and I was in the Porsche, and I was just kind of taking a break on Memorial Day because I had been working all day. You guys know I didn't miss at all. And we ran down 7 Mile. Now, anybody in Detroit know that there are some main streets. Even though the movie 8 Mile exists, there's some main streets in the city that are iconic. 8 Mile is not as iconic as 7 Mile, in my opinion, for people that live in the city. 8 Mile is the dividing line between moving outside of the city limits, starting to move into Southfield and Ferndale and all of those other cities. That's basically what they call Metro Detroit. Okay, Metro Detroit is the surrounding areas plus Detroit. So a lot of times people will say, if they out of town and they're not necessarily from Detroit, they'll say, "Where you from?" They'll say, "Oh, we from Detroit." What they really mean is Metro Detroit, because they're not really born and raised in a city. They never was in the city. They never lived in the city. But they're from Metro Detroit, meaning that the cosmopolitan area, the Metro Detroit area, that's what they reference. So 8 Mile has long been a representative as far as the dividing line between going further outside of Detroit versus coming into the city. My street, and where I was raised and born and raised on, was 2 blocks off of 8 Mile, between 7 Mile and 8 Mile. Okay. I've even documented it on my channel as far as where it was that I was born and raised. I went back and seen my family home. And I even tried to buy it, in which the lady tried to gouge me, and now she's regretting it, but that's a whole nother conversation, right? I live 2 blocks off of 8 Mile, between 8 Mile and 7 Mile, within Detroit. Okay. 7 Mile is actually a more iconic city for the people that's in the city, born and raised. It's the spot that once you left Belle Isle, which is largely an island within the city downtown, that a lot of people would drive up and down, and it's like the spot. You know what I'm saying? East 7 Mile, West 7 Mile is the spot. And so after we left downtown, and me and Rita was driving down 7 Mile, West 7 Mile, which is my spaces, I'm driving, and if anybody has seen my Instagram, I can't post it on YouTube, the wildest thing just popped up on the side of the road. It was a woman, a woman, a grown woman, no socks, no shoes, no pants, no panties, no bra, no shirt, no nothing. Strolling down the street. If you guys want to go to my Instagram, the link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Walking down one of the busiest streets in the city. And at first, it was wild, because this is not something that I've become used to, because I've adapted and evolved and living in spaces where my daughter is never privy to seeing something like that, right? My daughter wasn't with me, thank God. And so my first inclination was to call the police. And that's what we did. Had Rita call the police. Wanted to make sure everything was cool. Obviously, everything wasn't cool. Pulled up, made sure I never touched her, because Anton ain't trying to get me tooed out here. Had Rita recording me, pulling up. And I just begged her. I'm like, yo, I took the shirt off of my back. I had a black t-shirt on, but I had the black wife beater up under it. Took the t-shirt off my back, handed it to her, had tried to have a conversation with her. And I asked her, I said, yo, at least put the shirt on, because now a crowd is starting to see her. And it's funny, because we went up 7 Mile. We never seen her. Like she wasn't there. And then when we was coming back to actually go back down the freeway because we was looking at some specific areas that we wanted to possibly invest in, then she appeared. And so somebody had to drop her off. Like somebody had to stop at a corner, drop her off, dip on her, and then leave. And she just looked kind of like deranged out of her mind. And she wasn't like an old lady or anything like that, but she looked like she was about 30 years old, could have been 30, 28, 30 years old. Walking over glass, unaffected, just looked like she zoned out of her mind, right? And so Rita immediately gets sad, but it's a couple different things that went through my mind as I replayed this and as we had a conversation once we got home, because the police never came. I had to get out of there, right? After about 20, 30 minutes, I said, what the fuck, right? And when she called the police again, she like, oh yeah, everybody is we're aware of it. Multiple different people called and stuff like that. But the police never came, which then informed me that that is not the area that I want to invest my money in as far as trying to fix the city up. So a couple different things went through my mind, right? Because there was a lot of people that was just looking, never pulled the phone out to call, never had any compassion whatsoever, didn't want to offer her a shirt. I actually talked to her. I said, hey, listen, I need you to put this shirt on. And she said, can you take me home? Now, I can't have a butt booty naked woman off the street in my car, okay? So I know y'all want to be good Samaritans. I know y'all want to be good people, but you also have to protect yourself first. First rule of Fight Club is protect yourself. Keep your dukes up. Don't get caught up slipping. Do not have a woman with a wide butt that's naked walking down the street. You don't know shit about her in the back of your car trying to be a good Samaritan and take her home. All right. So that's not my place. I was going to take my shirt off and hand it to her in order to give her to, try to cover her up a little bit. But do not put anybody inside your car. But then she said, well, can you take me home? Obviously, I'm not going to take her home. I said, where do you stay? She said, Joy Road. Now, anybody knows that Joy Road is far as fuck as far as where it is that you're supposed to be, right? Joy Road. I'm like, I can't take you home, but I need you to just come off the main street and put this shirt on. She just waved me off like, forget all of that, and just kept on walking up the street. What world do we live in? Is this the United States of America? What world do we live in? I'm just curious. What environment or society, and again, the video is up on my Instagram story, but what world and environment do we live in to where, in hindsight, multiple different people never even really paid her no attention. They just came out their crib, looked, and just kept on looking. Very few people, except for a couple women, actually stopped to try to figure out what was going on and try to help her. 2. B, young boy couldn't have been any older than 14, 15 years old. Just walked on past her. I said, hey, man, get on away from her. Go on. Because he's walking in the same direction of her and he trying to pass her up. I said, man, go across the street. Oh, man, I'll be all right. No, man, get away from that lady. 4, how does somebody, and this was probably the most concerning part about it, it's not the reactive aspect of things, but it's the reactionary things, right? Not the proactive things, or I'm sorry, not the reactionary things, but the proactive things. Whose loved one? Because she's somebody's sister, somebody's mother, somebody's daughter, somebody auntie, something. How do your loved ones get to the point to where they're actually walking down the street with no shoes on, no socks on, naked on a main thoroughway in a major city? What the hell? What could possibly happen? Did somebody do her dirty? Was she drugged up? So many questions, but I'm just amazed every single day, even at 41 years old, at the things that I see. That's something that you're not even going to see play out and not be addressed when we was over in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, let alone here in the United States of America. It's getting bad out here, family. It's getting bad out here, family. When I say that you guys have to be very, very careful, protect yourselves. I'm gonna be reading super chat shortly. When I say you got to be very, very careful, protect yourselves. Don't put yourself in a position to ever, do anything except for really, really lean into yourself. Yo, now is the best time to be selfish before you can be selfless. Now, the space, somebody said, how far was the space between where you were and when she asked you to take her home? 8 miles? 7, 8 miles? In a completely different direction? Protect yourself. It's over. It's over. It's over, y'all. There is no saving the black community because there is no black community. There is no saving the white community because there is no white community. There is no race war. It's a war between the haves, the have-nots, the sleep, and the woke. That's it. It's a class war, and it's a war against principalities. That's it. It's a haves, have-nots, and it's a spiritual understanding in those that are of the devil. That's really all it becomes. It's over. It is absolutely over. If you've learned anything over these past couple weeks, you know that white people are suffering, gnashing at the teeth. Black people are suffering. Asian people are sleeping out on the street. When I was over in LA and I was driving down Venice Beach, now you got to understand, we were staying in like a $5-6 million house. A lot of people see me live streaming over the weekend, or I tapped into Fight Club and stuff like that. I'm staying in a $5 million house, rooftops, all of that other type of stuff. You drive down the street. Now, it was cooler over in California than it was over here even in Detroit and Michigan. It's 80-something degrees out here, right? Or it's going to get up to 80-something degrees. But then over in Cali, it was over in the 50s and the 60s. Now, I see a man sleeping on the ground, foot up, and it's kind of like I got kind of a photographic memory, and I see this guy sleeping on the ground, and he's got his foot up, right? And so that was when we went to the house. Now, when we leave out to go to the airport the next day at 8 o'clock in the morning, he's in the exact same position. I mean, it looked like he never moved, sleeping on the ground. Cover was laid the exact same way. His body is laid the exact same way. Nothing changed. Immediately called the police. He looked like he was dead. He looked like he never moved. He never moved. Man, white man, laying on the ground on the side of a building, looked like he never moved. And it's a strong possibility that people just walked by and never paid him any attention because that's just the norm. He looked like he never moved from the time that we went to our Airbnb to the time that we left to go to the airport the next morning. He never moved positions. You can't get close enough to touch him. You got to protect yourself. You also don't want to get Me Too'd or sued or any kind of junk or putting your hands on people and everything like that. So now I got to make an informed decision and call the police at the same time. Try to stay there so that you don't miss your flight. We almost missed our flight just so we can wait till the people get there. And then I don't want to stick around long enough to actually find out whether or not he's dead once the police and the ambulance arrive. But nobody cares anymore. Everything is absolutely over. It's over, family. It's over. So if we don't take care of ourselves, we have nothing and nobody that is going to look out for us. So we got to separate ourselves from everybody in order to even protect what it is that we have today. We've divided. We've been more divided than we've ever been. And there is no solidarity. There is no community. There is no family. There is nothing outside of the family that you create for yourselves, because it's going to get worse before it get better. Hear me out. I think that the commercial real estate industry is going to suffer. I believe that personal real estate is going to suffer. I think that there's going to be a bigger divide than ever. I think that there's going to be a bigger divide during our next national election. Um, Middle class is going away. Prices are going to continue to go up. More people are going to be homeless than ever before, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. And usually, when you see things go down and it continues to devolve, people's ability to make the right decision for themselves also erode, which means that they're going to pick somebody based off of hope, which ultimately is going to be the worst thing for them, instead of picking people based off of what makes the most sense. That's why you see people in these different candidates, they're galvanizing and they're more radical than ever, left, right, and people are attracted to them because things are worse than they've ever been in our lifetime specifically.